It has been an eventful 7 days in the world of pro wrestling. And to help me break it all down, joining me on the hotline, he and I are actually together usually in the second week of February for the Super Bowl. He is my Super Bowl traveling cohort. We've been together probably the last 5, 6, 7 years at least. He hosts Pro Wrestling Talk STL Saturdays on 590 The Fan in St. Louis. Also works with Glory Pro Wrestling in that fine city. He is Joe Roderick. Follow him on X at Joe Roderick. Joe, it's kind of odd seeing you in the fall.
Right, I know, but we're talking wrestling, so I will gladly take that.
Dude, I'll talk to you any day of the week. You
Yeah,
know that.
it's weird seeing you without a beard. That's what I'm
Yeah, I had the wild hair to shave it, and I immediately regretted it. So we are
yeah,
slowly but surely growing it back. So
I haven't done that in about 3 years because I already know there will be instant regret the second I do. So yeah, that's that's where I am. About 3 years I'll trim it up, but there's no chance that I'm shaving it all the way off.
there you go. I like it. All right, let's start with WWE, and let's start with the big announcement they made. Smackdown heading back to USA Network, or I guess heading to USA Network in October 2024, a 5-year deal. Most reports have it valued at 1.4 billion. They also mentioned that they will have 4 primetime specials on NBC. So that's all good. Now, the thing they don't mention is Raw and NXT. They do say that Raw and NXT will be on USA Network through September 2024, but they don't mention anything about afterwards. So, give me your thoughts on SmackDown going to USA next year.
I'm a little sad that it's leaving Fox because Stu, as you probably know, as the persecuted wrestling fan still in 2023, it's kind of cool to sit here and go, yeah, you know what? Hey, SmackDown is on Fox. It's on, it's on Channel 2. It's on
Right.
main TV. It's on one of the big networks. It makes it seem like it's a bigger deal.
Well,
And
and you see all the promos on NFL on Fox and NASCAR and
MLB,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah, Major League Baseball.
One of my biggest regrets. A few years ago, I was planning on going to a Cubs and Cardinals series up at Wrigley in late September for a pennant race. And last second, I'm like, no, you know what? I'm not going to go. I'm going to go cover the playoffs instead. I'm going to save my money. And Braun Strowman was just up making his rounds in the press box to promote Fox, SmackDown on Fox. And I was so mad at myself because I want to meet Braun Strowman. I want to shake that man's hand in person.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff you'll get. And I get, you know what? I'm sure that with the USA and with the primetime specials on NBC, I'm sure there will still be crossovers with that. But it was really cool to say that it was on Fox, and you would see that on NFL on Sunday. You would see them promoting Roman Reigns and promoting that, and it just I liked it so much that it seems like going to USA is a step back. But in that same breath, I also understand. I mean, TV is so different.
Mhm.
Even in the last 5 years, TV is so different. It's different from 15 years ago, where that it just doesn't. I mean, nobody just has those 4 channels and that's it. Nobody just has Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC. Like that's not a thing anymore.
Right.
So if everybody has USA. If whatever your streaming service is or cable services, you have USA. So it's going to be there for you. And with social media, they're going to promote it. They're going to go and show you everything, and you're not going to miss anything. But yeah, it's to me, it's a little sad. I am very interested to see what they do with these 4 primetime specials.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm
And
hoping.
what are the yeah, and like what does it mean by that? Because there were no details given outside of just saying prime time. Like, are we going to
Right.
get Thursday nights from 7 to 9 on NBC? And is that what we're going to get 4 times? Is it going to be whatever Saturday night main event? Is that what we're getting 4 times a year? They have not said what it is, and that's a big intriguing question mark.
It really is. And that's the thing. I hope it's not just like they're going to replay WrestleMania or something like that, because they did that a couple times back in the day. They would do that on NBC or replay one of the big pay-per-views. Hopefully it will be like a Saturday night's main event, except in prime time, not late night, because it does say for prime time specials. The thing that intrigues me is Raw and NXT, because as I said, the release says they will run on USA through September 2024, but it is pretty widely speculated that they are going to leave USA Network, which Monday Night Raw, you take away that little 5-year period where they were on Spike, they've been on USA Network since '93.
Mm-hmm.
So now, where does Raw and NXT end up? Could it be another cable network? Could it be a streaming situation? Like you mentioned, TV is so different today than it was even 10, 15 years ago. Tell me what you think, where you think Raw and NXT will end up.
I think right now I would say 50-50 between staying on USA or making a jump to a service like Amazon. I mean, right now, NFL is on Amazon. Thursday night, NFL, they have put so much money into that. We just talked about the crossover that Fox and the NFL had. If Amazon's trying to get into the live sports game, and you've seen other sports do that, you've seen baseball is on Apple TV now once a week, and you've seen that they're trying to get other things into the live sports, that they're trying to get into the live sports business. Netflix is doing it, Prime is doing it, Apple's doing it. You have these companies that are doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if they went to Amazon for that. Also, but I think staying on USA and just having everything right there with Comcast, Universal, whatever, to where everything is USA, Peacock, the NBC family, and just having that stranglehold on everything WWE wouldn't surprise me either, with the amount of money that they've invested into Peacock with this, because the Amazon thing would be intriguing. I'm sure Amazon would love to dip their toes into that, seeing how much money wrestling is making right now. But does WWE want to have Peacock and Amazon kind of, do they want to be sharing a piece of that pie where the NBC family could just get everything?
It feels like Raw and NXT, like you said, should stay on USA Network, and like you said, all things WWE ends up with NBC Universal. I can't imagine it being somewhere else. You mentioned Prime Video, you mentioned Netflix. There are some streaming services that may, like you said, may want to get into live sports. This would be like you said, dipping a toe in. I feel like they're gonna eventually say, okay, we are keeping Raw in NXT, and they'll just, they're gonna pay a ton of money. The other thing is that over the last 4 years, I guess now, with Smackdown on Fox, they built that up into the A show, and it was pretty much driven by the bloodline. That storyline is crumbling. You're starting to see the beginning of the end of that. I said it after SummerSlam. I think it's jumped the shark a little bit. So Monday Night Raw is starting to get back into equal footing with SmackDown, to where SmackDown is no longer the A show. It's almost like Raw wants to take that title back. So we will see. If you had to guess, you look in your crystal ball, Raw NXT are going to leave NBC Universal. And if you had to put a bet on it, is it another network or is it a streaming service?
If they are to leave USA, then they go to a streaming service. I think that's where they go with it. And I think other networks, I don't think there's another network out there. I think that it seems like Fox is out of the game. Fox is done with it. It just seems like maybe the other networks will look at it and say, okay, maybe that wasn't a win. That wasn't a success the last few years, regardless of how much money that they might have made off of it. Maybe they didn't view that as a success.
Yeah.
For that. And I don't see ESPN jumping into this game.
No.
That would be the only other thing that I could see. And maybe one day, and that would be really, really cool if ESPN one day was the home of one WWE show a week. I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. Raw. Now, if they move Raw off of Monday nights, there is a scenario that could see it go to an ESPN, but they've ESPN is so booked on Monday nights between Monday Night Football, Big Monday College Basketball. You got baseball as well, so it'd be really hard. Maybe they can put them on one of the other ESPN networks. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. See what comes about in the next couple of months. You got to imagine there's going to be an announcement sooner rather than later on Raw and NXT. So they mark this big TV deal by cutting talent. And, so last Thursday we started hearing the names. Probably the biggest name I would say that got cut, Dolph Ziggler, multiple time world champion, tag champion. It seemed like he was a lifer. It seemed like he was going to be there, for the duration, and they decided to release him. Give me your thoughts on Dolph Ziggler no longer with WWE.
Yeah, you got to think that this was that a conversation was had with him before they cut him. That this wasn't just some phone call that came out of nowhere with it. That he had been around long enough to where they kind of looked at him and said, "Hey, we don't have anything for you. We're paying you $1.5 million a year. It's, what if we part ways? Kind of, will there be any kind of bad blood here? And I think Dolph kind of looked at that and said, you know what? I think Dolph sees that he could go get money from AEW. His brother already works at AEW. Maybe he just takes some time off. Dolph has worked so hard to build up what he has. Maybe he goes away. Maybe he comes back to WWE. I think that Dolph is one of those. I haven't seen anything on social media of him saying thank you or posting anything, right? I haven't seen anything yet. But we saw The Rock and John Cena both post about him. Mm-hmm. How many times has The Rock stepped out and said something about a released WWE talent?
That's true. That's very true.
Right. So to get that level of respect from two of the greatest and two of the biggest stars that WWE has ever produced, and to have that kind of respect from them, just kind of tells me that this wasn't an out of the blue, what are you doing type thing. I think this was more of a respectful, listen, yeah, we're paying you a lot of money. We don't have anything for you. You can go do whatever you want to do in 90 days. Yeah. And we'll, down the road, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a guy that'll be there for as long as he lives. You would imagine they'd bring him back. But I think the thought of going to work with his brother, that's probably pretty cool too.
It is intriguing. I have seen a couple of whispers about maybe, like you said, maybe he decides to take time off. He has his comedy tour that he was doing there for a bit. Maybe he goes do some comedy clubs. I could see him joining his brother Ryan in AEW. I think Tony Khan would be, Tony Khan does not need to be signing every cut WWE star, but Dolph Ziggler would definitely be a boost. But like you said, I think Dolph kind of has the world is his oyster, so to speak. He could sit back and just enjoy his what he's accumulated and kind of take it easy for a bit. One of the wrestlers that got cut, Matt Riddle, it feels like that was a case of you've burned us too many times, and it almost seems like good riddance to bad rubbish, so to speak. He was a fantastic wrestler, but you had the wellness policy violation, and then he accuses a TSA agent or a Port Authority officer of sexually molesting him or something like that. And it feels like WWE said, "Look, you're too much of a headache. We're letting you go."
I would agree with that. I think that's purely just them looking at a guy that they, he had already fallen out of favor. They had already said that they were going to kind of hold back on any kind of pushes with him, and they're already making cuts. Just lump him in with everybody else.
Yeah.
Don't wait to have to make a special cut. Just cut ties with him, and we'll figure out how to write it in as we go along. I think they probably might have been waiting for Randy Orton to come back to start something with that. I don't know what being here in St. Louis where Orton is and seeing videos of him at his daughter's volleyball game, and then a day or two later seeing videos of him at the Performance Center. It is so confusing right now to know where Randy Orton is in his recovery with that, because he just back and forth, and everybody's waiting for that music to hit. And I think that they just kind of looked at Riddle and said, "You know what? We don't need this anymore. We're done. I think we're moved past it. All right, this is it. We're okay. We WWE can survive without Matt Riddle."
Yeah, I think you're right. And it felt like it was a little he was a little rudderless there the last few weeks, battling, or he was trying to team with McIntyre, and then just I don't know, it just felt off. So a name that is kind of intriguing, Mustafa Ali, who was in NXT, and he was actually slated to be at NXT No Mercy this Saturday to face Dominic Mysterio for the North American title, and then all of a sudden they cut him. There was something about a promo that he cut that apparently somebody either at Fox or NBC Universal was nervous about. It didn't. I don't know what they were nervous about. It feels like that was a cut for cut's sake, and they let go of someone that is insanely talented.
He's insanely talented, but has, outside of the first few weeks of Retribution, when has Mustafa Ali been appointment television for you?
That's true.
And I think that's, you look at how much he was probably making. Did Mustafa Ali make you want to tune into NXT every week?
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
Not me. I mean, Becky Lynch makes me want to watch NXT. Dominic Mysterio makes me want to watch NXT. Baron Corbin, to an extent, I might see what he's doing. Mustafa Ali did not make me want to turn on NXT. That wasn't appointment viewing for me on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Just because he was on. I wish Retribution would have been successful. I badly wanted that to work because I liked the premise of it. When it started, I liked the intrigue behind it, and I liked that they made him the leader. And then it was just booked terribly.
Oh my God.
It was booked almost as bad as the original Nexus was booked. It started off so on fire, and then just brutal booking and brutal, just week after week, losses that should never have happened, and then it just goes away.
Well, and I will say the Ali in NXT, it was very confusing. I know it's 2023. Heels and faces aren't as, prevalent, but couldn't figure out, where he was, who he was. And look, and I got to see him live here in Austin a couple times before he joined WWE. And like I said, just insanely talented. But yeah, I think you're right. He wasn't one of those that someone's going to tune in just to see Mustafa Ali. Other names released, you had Emma, Riddick Moss, Shelton Benjamin, who's been there for a while. You wonder if maybe Shelton Benjamin might decide to retire because, before, when he was between his WWE stints, he spent quite a bit of time in Japan. He was part of Suzuki Goon with Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki and that bunch. So you wonder if he might decide. We'll see if he's got a year or two left. Elias, that feels like another opportunity that they just missed. What do you think?
I hated when they made him Ezekiel. I liked when he was back. That just had nowhere to go. But when he was Elias at the peak, I don't know. Were you ever going to put a title on him?
Well, not necessarily, but he was still. I thought he was entertaining.
Right? No, he was real entertaining. I think that's another case of being poorly booked, and that's one I could see Elias, because everybody immediately wants to go, oh, they need to go to AEW. They need to go to AEW. Oh, AEW sign him. I am not a weekly viewer of Impact, but when Impact does something clever or fun, I see that all over social media. Mm-hmm. And it makes you want to follow it in however form that you want to follow it, whether you are locked in that, each and every week, or you're just kind of scrolling through their Twitter to see what they're doing at night, every week. I think Elias could go to Impact and do some great stuff backstage and have some fun matches. And I think could put himself back on the map that way.
Yeah.
That's one that I look at and I say, you know what? Impact could go with Elias. The only reason I would want him to go to AEW, the only reason is because I think Walk with Elias, WWE, was so genius. I would love to know who came up with those initials working the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like him to go to AEW and come up with some name that had a new catchphrase that turns into AEW. Walk with Elias, WWE. I don't know what it is, but I want if he goes to AEW, that's what I would like for that.
You
can't do that with Impact. Too many letters in Impact. You can't do it. Don't even try it. But that's if he goes to Impact, do stuff backstage. If you go to AEW, come up with a clever catchphrase.
Yeah. Other names: Rick Boogs, Top Dollar, Aaliyah, Dana Brooke, Mansois, Massey, the Maximum Male Models. That's one I love. Give me goofy wrestling. That was goofy at its finest, and boy, they killed the cow on that one. That was a shame. Dabakato, Shanky, and then Quincy Elliott. Let's see, Ikeman Jiro, Ulysses Leon, and Daniel MacArthur, Bryce Montana, Kevin Ventura Cortez, Alexis Gray, and Brooklyn Barrow, who were all Performance Center athletes, had seen maybe a cup of coffee on Level Up. But so seems like they're done with releases for now. We'll see if anything else comes up, but we'll see if any of those end up, whether it's AEW, Impact, New Japan, what have you. They did sign a new star, and of course they made it official. Worst kept secret, Jade Cargill, the former AEW star, former TBS champion. She has signed with WWE. They put out a press release broke the news to ESPN, and then saw the video today of her walking into the performance center and everything. Feels like, because as far as I can remember, they've never really put out a press release about signing a wrestler. So it feels like they're wanting to make her a seriously big deal coming to WWE.
And I don't okay, she truly is everything that is the female version of Goldberg, in my opinion. $1 million look, starts off with the huge win streak, and they're going to put all of their eggs behind her. But when the bell rings, there is nothing that impresses me. I put her in a match with Nia Jax already, so that way I could spend those 15 minutes doing something else. Because those are, I mean, Nia Jax being back, zero interest in that too.
Yeah.
Just let them go into a ring and botch moves with each other instead of bringing some other talented woman into it. That's just kind of how I feel about it. They are going to put her with all the top talent. Charlotte's gonna have her work cut out for her when she has to be in a ring with Jade Cargill. Because there is nothing there's just, when the bell rings, there's nothing about it that impresses me.
Well, and let's not forget she's been doing this for 3 years, maybe, coming out of the Nightmare Factory. I mean, she is still very new to wrestling. We'll see what she can come up with, if they work with her in the performance center, see if they come up with something. But yeah, I think I'm there with you. I was never a really huge fan of Jade Cargill, like you said. Love the look, but just not much else there. So anyway, but yeah, they seem like they're making a big deal out of her. SmackDown, they had John Cena get attacked by Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. By the way, and I've been asked this the last couple of weeks, can you make sense of Jimmy Uso wanting to be back in the bloodline after everything we saw to get the Usos out of the bloodline, and now Jimmy wants to go back in? Am I just dense and not getting it, or is this just weird?
It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. It's and I don't know if something had changed because Roman was hurt, if he is really hurt and he's going to be off TV for longer, but it makes no sense. But I'm also fascinated by this new change in character that we're seeing now of Jimmy, that he has all this sense of entitlement, that he has, that he's kind of stepping up, that yes, when Roman comes back, Roman is going to put him in his place. And that maybe Solo's just being a good younger brother and just letting older brother do, what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But no, it makes no sense right now at all.
And by the way, speaking of Roman Reigns, the word around the campfire is, I believe it's October 13th. SmackDown's going to be in Oklahoma City, and the arena there is advertising Roman Reigns. So we'll see if he decides to show up for that one. He's been off since SummerSlam. And like you said, possibly nursing some sort of injury. So, but it just makes no sense. But now they've got a match booked for Fastlane, which is October 7th in Indianapolis. Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa facing John Cena. Right now, it's a handicap match. If you believe the rumor and innuendo, LA Knight was supposed to come down and help John Cena, but he had to go. He had to leave SmackDown last week because he tested positive for COVID. So hopefully he's feeling better. We'll see if maybe if he can clear out the symptoms and everything and test negative. Maybe they do that this week and set it up as a tag match. But give me your thoughts on John Cena and LA Knight together as a tag team.
So so you mentioned October 13th. Raw being in Oklahoma City.
SmackDown.
SmackDown being in Oklahoma City.
Yes.
7 days before that, October 6th, SmackDown is here in St. Louis.
Okay.
Who'd we talk about earlier that's making his time between St. Louis and the Performance Center down in Orlando?
Well, that's true.
That's from St. Louis.
It's from St. Louis. You're right.
Could you imagine in the damn near sold out Enterprise Center in St. Louis on that Friday night, if Cena still doesn't have a partner and the pay-per-view's the next day in Indianapolis and he's looking for a partner and I hear voices comes over the speakers there, I mean, that place, the roof will be blown off the Enterprise Center if that happens. You think the Rock's ovation on SmackDown 2 weeks ago was big? You give me Randy Orton making his return after a year and a half in St. Louis on SmackDown, Stu, it's going to be nothing you've ever heard before in your life. Now, I do think it's going to be LA Knight. This is just fantasy booking on my part. But
let's be clear. But you're right. It would be
I have zero inside knowledge on it.
Right.
I'm going to bring this up on my show this week.
Okay.
And it just so my co-host, his daughter, and plays against Randy Orton's daughter often in volleyball. Okay. So he sees him all the time out at tournaments trying to hide, which 6'4" with all the tats and everything, well known around that part of St. Louis. It's very hard for Randy Orton to hide, but he does a really good job of it, going full sleeves and a hat most of the time.
Right.
But when people know it's him, he's got to get out. He's got to get going pretty quick for that. But that's a theory I'm going to bring up this week on our show, and I really hope that's the case. I really do, because I'm already excited to go because, as you know too, this very well could be the last time that we all get to see John Cena in person.
That's right. Writer strike is over. Hopefully the Screen Actors Guild and gets the production or the producers and everything back to the table. Maybe we can find an end to that strike, and maybe both The Rock and John Cena go back to making movies. That's why everybody made a big deal about The Rock talking about, WrestleMania 40. Look, if assuming the actor strike ends soon, The Rock's not going to be around for WrestleMania 40 because he's probably going to be making a movie somewhere. So, so I wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
So I was already pissed that Rock and Roman didn't happen at WrestleMania 39, to the point where I was ready to start boycotting everything The Rock did. No more Moana in the house. No more Fast and Furious movies. None of that. XFL wasn't going to go to a Battlehawks game. I was going to stop drinking Zoa. The whole 9 yards.
You were serious.
Yeah. And then he goes on McAfee's show and he starts talking about WrestleMania 40. If that doesn't happen, I'm throwing out my Project Rock shoes. I'm throwing out the hoodie I have. Just done. Absolutely done. He threw it out there. He put it out there and talked about how close it was, and he teased it. He personally teased it. He never teased WrestleMania 39.
That's true.
It apparently was a handshake deal that never got done, but he's put it out there in the universe. If it doesn't happen now, this is 100% on Dwayne Johnson.
Well, and I'm hoping, because I was pissed. I was at WrestleMania 39, and I was pissed when Cody didn't win the title. I still think he should have won the title. So I'm hoping maybe that finally happens at 40. But that would mean Roman either has to do double duty or they're making a triple threat match. So we'll see. Speaking of world titles, Seth Rollins is going to defend the World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura in a last man standing match at Fastlane. They've been playing up Seth's injured back, and Nakamura targeting it. I don't see them changing the title here, but give me your thoughts on Nakamura versus Seth in a last man standing match.
I said this before the last pay-per-view. I didn't think that Seth Rollins was going to leave with the title then. I was surprised that he left with the title in that last one. I'd be really surprised if he left with the title again after this.
Really?
Yeah. Notice how I'm saying that, by the way. Notice that I'm not saying that Nakamura is going to win, because now you put a last man standing moniker on it. You put that stipulation there, which means you could have everything happen in this match, everything thrown out there. And there's been a few times on Raw where I'm sitting there wondering, why isn't Damian Priest coming down? Like, what? They haven't teased this at all with him coming down to cash in. And while I still think there might be a little something tricky behind the whole new briefcase that I think, might come into play, and maybe that's just me way overlooking things, but I do think that Seth Rollins is no longer the heavyweight champion after Fastlane. I think that something will occur that will put the title on somebody else and maybe give Seth some time off and let him come back for Survivor Series or whatever. Is there a Saudi show between then and Survivor Series?
I believe so. I think there's a Saudi show because I'm pretty sure Roman's going to defend the title there
against AJ, probably,
but don't hold your breath on that one. But
really?
I could see that. I could see Damian Priest cashing in at Fastlane
or Finn Balor.
I
told you, I think there's something tricky behind that whole briefcase that JD McDonough gave him.
Really? Well,
this is me just thinking
I was going to say that's going a stretch, but
yeah. Crown Jewel apparently is November 4th in Saudi.
Okay, there we go. Stranger things have happened, I guess.
Right.
Let's switch gears to AEW. AEW had their Grand Slam week last week at the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York. We had 2 titles change hands at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Eddie Kingston, Claudio Castagnoli, they finally, after what seems like forever, they finally blow that feud off. Eddie Kingston gets the win. He keeps the New Japan Strong Openweight title and is now your new Ring of Honor World Champion. I love Eddie Kingston to death. I think he is fantastic. I've gotten to work with him a couple times here in Austin. Give me your thoughts on Eddie Kingston as the Ring of Honor World Champion.
I was going to ask you how much you've gotten to work with Eddie Kingston and how much you've gotten to see him in person, because I think as far as somebody, you and I both, and I would say anybody else that works with independent wrestling throughout the country that has gotten to know Eddie Kingston at all over the last 10 plus years, is so happy for the success that he's having right now in multiple promotions, because I've seen him here in Glory Pro multiple. I've seen him win the Glory Pro title here and then have to give it up because of the injuries that he goes through time after time. I've been pushed through a wall by Eddie Kingston doing backstage promos as the interview guy backstage. Nice. I mean, I've seen the work that he does with and just the encouragement that he gives to these wrestlers and everything that he leaves out in the ring over and over again. And you talk about a guy that deserves everything that he's getting now. It's so awesome to see how much it was awesome to see when he first came on the scene against Cody in AEW, and it was immediately signed to a contract and then main evented a pay-per-view there. Like the constant pushes they keep giving Eddie in AEW is so great to see, knowing his story and seeing the work that he's done for whatever it was he was making on the indies.
Yeah.
All those years. So you give him whatever title you want, and I'll sit here and I'll tell you that he deserves the heck out of it, because Eddie Kingston, I mean, character wise, gimmick wise, I mean, there isn't one there. But as far as just being a professional wrestler, Eddie Kingston's one of my favorites.
He really is. By the way, quick Super Bowl story. So Atlanta, we were, you and I are at Radio Row, and we remember we had those couple of wrestling events in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of the guys on Radio Row, and sure enough, it was Friday, and Radio Row is shutting down, starting like 2:00 on Friday. Well, all of a sudden, here comes Eddie Kingston and Justin Bisnet, who's the promoter for Inspire After Death here in Austin, the promotion I work with. And here they come. They had their day passes. They went straight to the Sirius XM compound and just sat there for like an hour and a half. It was the craziest thing because they wanted to see, some players talking, I guess, to the Sirius XM guys. But it was really, it was so cool to see Eddie win that title. He has announced that he's going to take a break from independent bookings, which makes total sense. He is, he's an older guy, body's beat up. Now he's got titles to defend. I completely understand he wants to save himself for those title defenses. So we won't see Eddie Kingston on the independent scene for a while, but we will see him, throughout, including coming up this Sunday. We'll talk about the here in just a bit. The other title changed hands. Another Ring of Honor title is the Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page defeat the Mogul Embassy. Mogul Embassy held the Ring of Honor 6-man titles for 300 and something days, and the Young Bucks had Adam Page beat Mogul Embassy. They are now the new Ring of Honor World 6-man tag team champions. It's their second time to hold those titles. They held them back in 2017 during one of Ring of Honor's overseas excursions. And then Saturday night on Collision, Christian Cage, he used Luchasaurus, stole the pin on Darby Allin, so he is now legitimately the TNT champion.
Yeah, why? What? Go back to the Young Bucks real quick with the 6-man.
Okay.
Why?
Because they want some star power on those Ring of Honor shows on WatchROH.com, maybe.
They don't need to always have a belt all the time. It just there's so much booking right now in AEW that just confuses the heck out of me. With and I mean this, WrestleDream coming up. Why do we need another multi-man tag match with Kenny Omega against multiple members of the Don Callis? Like, we just did that at All In.
Yeah.
We just had that. Why are we redoing it again? We're just throwing different names on there. I mean, Raw has the same problem with every week it being Cody or Sammy or Kevin versus the Judgment Day, and then just kind of mix and match, pull names out of a hat to see who's going to be facing who in how many persons on a match. Like, why do we keep doing that over and over again? AEW used to not be like that. Back when AEW was making a run for a top spot and giving WWE fits, they were putting new stuff out there each and every week. They were giving you a new show each and every week, and now they've kind of fallen into the Vince booking of, we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And you're seeing the ticket sales start to dwindle down.
Yeah.
With that. And there's not a whole lot on AEW television right now that's making me want to tune in every week. I right now, the only MJF, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong is the only thing going right now that I'm in any way interested in.
You're right, and that's gold. The TNT Championship, that feels like it has really, dropped down to, it just feels like a nothing title anymore.
Because I mean, how many times has Darby Allin had it and been involved in it since it's come out? It's like Darby Allin's title that he's either has it or he's fighting for it.
You're
And
right.
and as Christian Cage beats Luchasaurus for it, he gets a match right with Darby Allin. Like Darby Allin's right back into it.
Yeah.
And it's like anytime Sting is not available to wrestle, Darby's going for the TNT title. And but by the way, Christian Cage is like he is doing some of his best work of his career right now. And yeah, it sucks for him that the TNT title is viewed the way that it is as such a low tier championship right now. And with whatever happened last week with Rey Fenix and Mox, with having to make that title change, I don't know what you do with those two secondary belts right now in the international and the TNT championship. One of those has to step up while MJF's doing his thing.
Yeah. It does feel like the international title change that felt like it was out of necessity because Mox got knocked he got a concussion and they had to change that on the fly. Yeah, I don't know what to think of the TNT title. It just feels like, and part of it is the simple fact that there are just too many belts with AEW, Ring of Honor, and they're all melding together. And Tony Khan even talked about it a little bit on the media conference call for WrestleDream today, where he feels like there's plenty of opportunity and this and that, but it just feels a little muddled, quite honestly. So, speaking of WrestleDream, this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, on Bleacher Report here in the United States. You'll be at the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. The card as of right now, you got to believe there's going to be more matches added. They'll be announced tomorrow night on Dynamite, Friday night on Rampage, and Saturday on Collision. You mentioned the trios match: Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi taking on Sammy Guevara, Konosuke Takeshita, and Will Ospreay. I do see that hopefully as kind of a blow off for this feud between Omega and Takeshita, to where maybe hopefully they will go their separate ways after this. I think there's the novelty of seeing Omega and Jericho tagging together, and then you put in Kota Ibushi, Omega's Golden Lovers partner. So there's a little bit of intrigue in that. But I hope this is, like I said, kind of like you. I hope this is the blow off for the feud.
Yeah, I just it doesn't make it just let's start to push the Callis. If the Callis family is going to keep adding on, and I said the other day, we were talking about this. It's kind of like the Heenan family, where it's just going to be a hodgepodge of people in it. Like none of them make sense. None of them really go together. But it's kind of like the Heenan family or the Dangerous Alliance, to where it was just kind of guys thrown together for it. But I mean, this whole pay-per-view, it seems like it just came upon us so fast, and it was just kind of done to give us the Bryan Danielson Zack Sabre Jr. match. Like there's nothing else really on this match, on this card, that is far and away, a pay-per-view caliber match, right?
Well, and that's part of I think that's part of the problem is this motivation, I guess, to do more pay-per-views. This felt like it came out of thin air, and Tony Khan wants to honor Antonio Inoki on the first anniversary of his passing, and I get that. He even announced that Inoki's family will be at the pay-per-view. I get all that, but you just had All In and All Out back to back weeks, and now just shy of a month later, 4 weeks later, basically, you're doing this WrestleDream. And oh, by the way, in another 5-6 weeks, you got Full Gear in Los Angeles. So
Yeah.
it does feel like this is a good episode of Dynamite, maybe. I don't know.
One of the specialty shows that they're doing, which if they go to 12 pay-per-views a year, that takes a lot away from the Dynamite shows.
It really does. I agree. I don't agree with them doing all these pay-per-views. I think they need to keep it at 4 or 5. Keep Forbidden Door, that's fine. But keep it at 4 pay-per-views. You know, and maybe that's just the old school in me. You know, you think back to the days of the NWA and WCW. You mentioned the 4-way tag match: Young Bucks, the Guns, Lucha Brothers, and Orange Cassidy and Hook. Winner gets an AEW tag title shot anytime they want it. There was a time when AEW and Ring of Honor had like just such a deep tag team roster. And I don't know if it's just out of lack of exposure or what, but now it feels like their tag division is similar to what we used to see with WWE, quite honestly, with just a few teams.
Yeah. By the way, the WrestleDream this weekend, as of yesterday, as of the 2,000 tickets still available for it.
Okay.
That's a lot of tickets.
That is a lot of tickets. They're at the Climate Pledge Arena. That's not where, I guess that's where the Kraken play.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. You speaking of tag titles, you got Adam Cole and MJF, the world champion.
By the way, I should also know the Seahawks are playing Monday Night Football next week, so it's not like there's other stuff to do in Seattle on Sunday.
Okay, well there we go.
Yeah. It's not, it's not one of those cases where maybe the people are busy. I mean, the Mariners have a game that day, but 2,000 tickets is still a lot.
That is a lot. You got Adam Cole, MJF taking on the Righteous. And I asked Tony Khan about the status of Adam Cole because we saw last week on Dynamite, MJF's getting beat up by Samoa Joe. Here comes Adam Cole. He makes that leap off of the ramp onto the floor and comes up gimpy, and he is noticeably limping. And the response I got from Tony Khan is that they will address it tomorrow night on Dynamite. So that makes me think this match might end up not happening. Which honestly, I don't think I would miss it much. I like Vincent. I think the Righteous are a good gimmick. I just don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling that match.
I like the Righteous too. I think they have done they remind me of the Wyatt family and they are not copying anything really off of Bray, but I think there's a lot of inspiration there by Bray Wyatt, by the Righteous. So I like that. I thought Stu Grayson was part of that too. Well, it was part of the Righteous, but I haven't seen him in anything yet.
I haven't either. They're also now I'm going back to when Sinclair still owned Ring of Honor. There you had Bateman, who was part of the Righteous, and there was a woman. I can't remember her name.
In the Righteous, it was was it SoCal Val?
No.
Oh, it was
It used to be on TNA. I know.
Yeah.
There's a cat. No, it's not cat something. It was. I don't remember. Anyway, so the Righteous down to just Vincent and what's his name?
Dutch,
right. Just those two. So FTR defending the AEW Tag Team Championships against Aussie Open.
But yeah, I was just gonna say, like there's more people that could be a part of this, right?
What do you mean?
with the righteous. I mean, they can keep adding on. Vita Von Star was who it
That
was.
that was her.
Yeah, that Tyler Bateman also was a part of them as well.
Right. I knew Bateman was there.
Yeah,
Yeah, Vita Von Star. There used to be 4 of them.
and maybe they add on. Maybe this is the beginning of something.
We'll see. We'll see. FTR Aussie Open. This feels like Aussie Open could win the titles. You've had FTR defending the titles pretty continuously the last couple of weeks, so I think Aussie Open could take advantage of a tired FTR. We'll see. Chris Statlander, Julia Hart for the TBS Championship. This could be intriguing. And Tony Khan was really high on Julia Hart today on the media call, really bragging about her, how her character's developed. So this could be an intriguing match with that one. We talked about Christian Cage and Darby Allin, 2 out of 3 falls for the TNT title. And then the 2, what Tony called dream matches, Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. I'm hoping that the match lives up to the hype. I think it can, but you and I both have seen where matches fall short sometimes. But give me your thoughts on
I just don't want Daniel Bryan to get hurt out of this match. I mean, how many times have we seen him? How many times have we seen him get hurt in these big matches?
He's, allegedly he's still nursing the broken arm that he got from Okada.
Right.
Sure.
So that's what I want out of this. I just don't want him to get hurt.
He just did a Texas Death Match with Ricky Starks on Collision.
Right. So as long as he's healthy, that's kind of all I care about.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. And then Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata. This is one of, I think this one is one like Tony's 2 favorites. Because he loves Kingston, he loves Shibata. I was there at Supercard of Honor when he asked George Napolitano to take a picture of him with Shibata, legendary photographer. This should be an interesting match. It feels like, and AEW doesn't do it that often, although we've seen it a little more lately. But this feels like a match that would be perfect for a run-in, somebody interfering or what have you. But Shibata and Kingston should be a good match.
Yeah, and it's one of those where I am not a big enough New Japan fan to where this ropes me in. I know Eddie wants the match real bad.
Yeah.
I know this is a dream match for him. That's not enough for me. AEW just needs something at some point that's a storyline that's going to get people tuning in every week.
Yeah.
They are in desperate need of some sort of shot in the arm, and they're struggling to find it right now, and I don't know what that answer is for them.
Yeah. I'm a fan of Shibata. I've seen him wrestle. I've actually met him a couple times. This will be a very intriguing match for me, but again, I've seen Shibata few times. Anyway, AEW WrestleDream this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, from the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. Before I let you go, I'm going to give you a laugh. So today during the media call, and it was actually Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful that asked Tony about this. You know as well as I do, when it comes to wrestling on social media, the speculation and rumor and innuendo flies faster than the speed of sound. Allegedly, there was speculation that Tony Khan is setting himself up to buy New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, Tony Khan laughed at it. He wondered where the speculation was coming from. He never flat out said no or denied it. Now, he also admitted that maybe he wants to feed that speculation, maybe because it might turn into a few more pay-per-view buys or a few more tickets sold for WrestleDream. But could you imagine Tony Khan owning New Japan Pro Wrestling?
With no, I don't want. I mean, that's right now they're struggling to fill seats in AEW. The last thing they need is more wrestlers and more people to try to figure out how to book and what to do with that. That's just people gave, people talk about how Vince bought up all of the other promotions to make WWE the top promotion back in the day. How is this any different right now? If you're buying Ring of Honor, you don't need to buy Ring of Honor. You bought it for the name, the catalog. I get it. There's just no need to buy New Japan.
Yeah.
Focus on making AEW a better show.
Agreed.
And find a network that's going to air Ring of Honor.
True. It'd be
every week
off of the web and get it onto an actual
right.
And by no means do I believe he is going to try to buy New Japan. I don't. New Japan, they've got Bushiroad owns them. They just had a stockholder meeting, and they had, who was it? Was it Takagi? Somebody, one of the New Japan stars was at the Bushiroad stockholder meeting. So yeah, I don't think that's happening. But there's always stuff to laugh at. So he is Joe Roderick. Follow him on X at Joe Roderick and catch him on Pro Wrestling Talk STL Saturdays on 590 of the Fan in St. Louis. Joe, I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
I think you and I may have to do this a little more often.
I'm down. Always down to talk wrestling with you.
Good.
You need to figure out how to get to Vegas in February.
I do. I don't have an outlet right now, but we'll see.
I know. That's what we need to figure out next.
Yes. So, Joe, I appreciate it, man. All the best, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Talk to you later, Stu. Thank you.